PHNX Wildcats show. The voice goes up as Saul Bookman is in the room as well. Hello, Saul Bookman. How are you doing today? The boss, the GM, the man, all things PHNX.
Hello, Mike. I feel like my voice should go lower when you go higher.
You sound like James Earl Jones, James Earl Bookman right now.
I wish, man. I wish I had that kind of voice, man. If I had that kind of voice, man, I'd be such a game changer.
No, it really is. It was like growing up. I always thought there was this kid that was from Australia, and kids used to tease him. And by 7th grade, everybody wanted to have that Australian accent. It's very,
I mean, listen, man. The ladies like the deep voice and the accents, you know.
So what? So you mean to tell me they don't like "Welcome to the PHNX Wildcats"?
No, unfortunately, no. My wife likes it when I first wake up in the morning because, like, you know how your voice hasn't really worked into itself, and so it's like much deeper at that time. And she's like, "Oh," I'm like, "All right, calm down."
You're like, I don't know if you knew. I used to be a singer back in the day. All right, we got a lot to get to today. Arizona Wildcats on watch list. We're going to talk about wild cards for this team, concerns. Want to give another shout out to TJ Benson, the great TJ Benson. But first, Saul, the reason you're the boss is that you alerted me to some really good stuff this morning that we had briefly touched on, but we need to talk more about it. Arizona football players on watch lists. Very good. This is very good. First, Emma, if we could bring up the Noah Fifita Maxwell one.
I mean, listen, man, like I think you might have touched on it yesterday, but T-Mac and Noah on the Maxwell Award Watch List. Obviously, that's basically the nation's one of the top awards you can get for the top player in the country. And I mean, those two are obviously deserved to be on that list. They're two of the best players in the country, flat out.
They're two of the best players in the country, and they have such a synergy with each other. It's really amazing when you watch them. I was watching one of their Island podcasts, and Noah was asked, he said, when you went into the game, were you nervous or anything? And he's like, no, I had my boy out there. I knew we'd take care of each other. And it's very rare in college football when you have that kind of synergy. You might have that in like high school. You might have that in the pros or something. But those two are going to be tied at the hip, and they should be tied at the hip. Both very good football players for the U of A.
Yeah, it's kind of rare when you see, you know, like, I mean, I think about all the friends you've had over the course of your lifetime, and I've had, you know, friends over the course of my lifetime, and some of them you think are going to be best friends forever, and then, you know, as you get older, some of them just don't go that way. These two look like they're just going to be attached. They basically feel like they're brothers.
Right. These two will be the best men at each other's weddings. That's what this feels like.
Yes. 1,000,000%.
Okay, now we have another one. Why don't we move over to the defensive side where we have Takario Davis, and we also have
Jacob Manu.
You could throw those
both
up
on
there.
the Bronko Nagurski Trophy Watch List. You know, again, these guys are getting recognized for their terrific performances. The expectations going into the Big 12. You know, listen, they're going to get some pretty high level games this season. Obviously, notably at the beginning of the season against Kansas State, and they're going to have a tremendous opportunity to really set the tone and put their name out there officially as one of the top dogs in the country. So, I mean, it's deserved.
Yeah. Now, do you think that they're looking to step up their game against Kansas State for a very specific reason, Saul Bookman, that maybe we haven't addressed as much as we should have?
Like what?
We're going to be in attendance.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, man. When the big dogs come to the show, man, you got to put out, right?
I mean, seriously. Let's not act like there's a little bit more pressure. I know their shoulders are broad.
Listen, man, you know, I don't want to say it, but you know, when they see us strolling the sidelines, Mike, it might be a game changer. We might literally have an impact on the game. I'm not trying to overemphasize it, but we might.
We might have an impact on the game. We're not going to dismiss it as out of hand. Now we got another award watch list. Jonah Savaiinaea. This is an interesting one. When Savaiinaea came here, I remember at Jed Fish's signing day press conference, he basically led with Jonah. And he said, I don't care what he's rated. He said, guys like him don't come through here. You very rarely see guys that are 6'4", 330 pounds with ab muscles. He has ab muscles. This is what an NFL player looks like. This is what an NFL player looks like, Saul.
Dude, Savaiinaea is a beast, and I cannot wait to see him get more love this season. You know, I'm not trying to say that, you know, Morgan got too much love or anything like that, or dwarfed him, but I think everybody recognized how great of a talent Jonah was pretty early on, and so I'm excited to see him just mollywop the Big 12 competition this season.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of that, and like I said, and this is where I kind of come back to these guys. A lot of these guys are not going to be here next year, even though they're juniors. These are NFL players, and that's why, again, we've talked about it from day one. You got to strike now. You got to strike when the iron's hot. You got to strike while you have these guys. And what's also intriguing about this, Saul, look at those. It's not like all these players are loaded at one position. You got 2 skill guys on offense that are nationally getting a lot of love. You got 2 guys on defense that are getting a lot of love, and then you got a lineman as well. So it's kind of a nice little layout there. And there are not I'll give you a little bit of a hint. I don't know the exact number, but there's not 10 teams in the country that have more players on watch lists than Arizona. Take that.
Oh, that's pretty dope. That's pretty cool, man.
I thought that was a pretty cool thing. Yes. Now, let's talk about the Most Patient Boss Award. Yes, very good, Saul. Oh, I got to address something really, really quickly here with Gringo Billy. Gringo, I thought I was following you, and then when I saw that you followed me yesterday, I followed you back. I felt very bad about that. You are one of our favorite people. I do apologize. Not very good at this sometimes. Okay, now, let's talk about wild cards on this U of A football team, Saul, because, listen, Arizona, I believe, like you believe, has top 10 potential, but it's not like Georgia where, you know what, we got 9 tight ends. They're all going to be in the NFL. One of them is going to work. Some of these guys need to be able to hit. Who is the first guy you're looking at and you're like, all right, that's a wild card that we need to hit, and if he hits, that really changes the trajectory?
You know, I thought long and hard about this, and I know you've got a list of names that you're going to go with, and I'm gonna go with the one person. Listen, we've already talked about the Krosky Merritts of the world and all the running backs and some of the wide receivers, but I think this particular wide receiver could have a tremendous impact. And watching his tape, it has been hard for me to see, like, what level of talent can he actually be? Is he going to be he's not really a burner, so to speak, but right. Is he going to be effective enough to be able to get the defense to pay attention to you? And that would be Romello Murphy. You know, I know he was a standout at ODU, and he had a good career there, if you will. And he comes over here, and obviously it's a step up in competition. And there's some things on tape that I looked at, and I thought, okay, he's pretty good. He's a decent route runner. Speed in terms of separation didn't appear to be there against, you know, the lower level schools. And then the quickness wasn't there either. So there had to be something that this coaching staff took a look at and said, oh yeah, he's going to be able to contribute at a high level. And so that's the one guy that I feel like is a big wild card on the offensive side, because, you know, outside of T-Mac, Lamonius Craig, and whoever else they might see fit, he's one of those guys that came with a little bit of love. And you know, some people had him rated as high as like the 4th highest transfer in the portal, and so in terms of wide receivers. So right. I'm interested to see what he's going to bring to the table.
Yeah, what's fascinating to me about Romello Murphy, that's a very good one, is that he caught for about 600 yards last year at ODU. Keep in mind, they had one of the worst passing attacks in the entire country.
Yeah, the quarterback was ass.
Yeah, he was terrible. So the fact that he caught for 600 yards, and the one team that they played that was ranked, that was good, James Madison, still feels weird saying the good team they played, James Madison. He caught 5 catches. He had 5 catches for 70 yards. And so, I mean, he played well against good competition.
But again, that's what I'm talking about, though. Yeah. Like 5 for 70 against James Madison, you feel like, okay, that's about average for, like, right. if you're considering him a top level wide receiver, that's average, right?
For sure. Yeah. Now, well, I think where he's interesting, though, is he's got an interesting little skill set that I don't know that the other that's not really necessarily replicated, as far as all these other guys are really big. Whereas, you know, Montana Lamonius Craig, he's built like Saul Bookman. He's like 6'3", 215, 220, something like that.
I wish.
Well, Saul Bookman in his athletic days. How about that?
Okay, there we go.
All right, but then you got T-Mac, obviously a specimen. Then you got Malachi Riley, my breakout player on offense. These are all guys that just kind of look the part. They look like the guys that you show up at the combine and they are going to look the part, for lack of a better term. He's going to be kind of that more little quick, shifty, jitterbug type, and I think that's what they're hoping. I agree with you, man. I'm interested to see, because, like you said, the coaching staff loves him. Les Fifita loves him as well.
I didn't get jitterbug at all from watching his tape. I just did not. That's what I was expecting to see. I was expecting to see, you know, this guy that was just like quick twitch and, you know, can make guys miss. And for at least the clips that I saw, he was not able to make the first guy miss very often, which is a little bit of a concern in my opinion. But I'm not listen, I'm going to wait to see how this plays out. I want to see him in camp. I want to see how he performs in person, because that could totally change everything for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll find out on that one. Now, another one. Montana Lamonius Craig. We mentioned him earlier. This is an interesting one for me, Saul. Everywhere this guy goes, the coaching staffs love him. Listen, he was a highly rated kid coming out of Inglewood, California. He was a mid 4-star player. Looking at Greg Biggins right now. Projects as an NFL player if he can gain some explosion. High points the ball very well. What you're looking for in a wide receiver at the high major level. Projects as a multi-year high major starter. So he starts at Colorado. And in the spring game last year, before he transfers to Arizona, he has 4 catches for 106 yards in the spring game. Dion didn't want him to leave. Comes to the U of A, and the coaching staff loved him to the point last year where he didn't really come off the field much. And I think at some point, though, the rub is you need to be able – listen, I know it's great if you're a blocker. Totally get that. But you also got to be able to catch the football, and when you're out there the whole time, I need more than 300 yards. That's where I'm at with him. All these coaching staffs love him. Bobby Wade said he's one of the leaders in the room. I would like to see him break through this year, Saul.
I feel like he is. I feel like he is. He's the one guy that I feel like I'm not even concerned about. I really do think that he's going to have a stellar season. I think he's going to be a great number 2 to T-Mac. Right. And I'm sure that the assessment over the course of the offseason has been, we need to develop Montana, because if we do that and he can find that next level, we will have 2 wideouts that are NFL caliber, and that will completely change the dynamic of this team, because you can't really focus on one over the other. You have to be able to identify both, which is what it's going to open up the dump passes for the running backs. It's going to open up the middle for the tight ends. It's going to do a lot of things for this offense. So hopefully that's the case for in terms of Montana.
Yeah, now the other guy that I'm big on is Malachi Riley. He is my breakout player on offense, Saul Bookman. I am a big fan of Malachi Riley. Not T-Mac. Noah Fifita brought him up. Brent Brennan brought him up. He really played well in camp last year. A lot of people didn't understand why he didn't play necessarily more. But Bobby Wade has said, and I'm excited to see this, Saul. I really am. He said, I've got a good receiving room. I got 5-6 dudes that can play. They're all going to be in there. I think last year, it was difficult at times because I thought there were players that could have contributed a little bit more. But, Jed's thing was we're only going to play 3 wide receivers. I get it. Every coach is different. I like that Bobby Wade is saying we're going to move this around. We're going to put a lot of different dudes in there and different opportunities. So guys are going to have opportunities if they're good. I'm excited to see this.
Yeah, I do think that the wide receiver group and the rotations of the wide receiver group will give everybody an opportunity to really showcase what they got, especially in the first 2 games.
Right.
And then from there, you kind of assess, okay, let's give this guy a little bit more reps. Let's take these reps away from this guy, so on and so forth. Right. So it'll be a constant movement. I didn't focus as much on the offense because I feel like the biggest questions have always been the defense, and especially that front 7. That's kind of where the focus I had is. And I'll go over and I'll start with Trey Smith. Trey Smith, obviously, he's got the measurables to be a fantastic end, outside linebacker end, depending on what scheme they're going to try and run. If he could replace Upshaw and maybe even outperform Upshaw, then great. He was first team All Mountain West last year. He's got the goods physically. Can he take his level up another his game up another level with higher competition? From all accounts, everybody's saying, yeah, without a doubt, he's going to be able to match that because he's just a really, really good talent. But he's the one that I look at and I'm like, if he can put pressure on the quarterback consistently, and they have to account for him, that helps out the rest of the defense so much, especially a group of defensive linemen that, again, in terms of the transfers and trying to figure out what you got and what you don't got, what do you have there? How consistent and how dominant can they be up front? On paper, the measurables tell you they should be right up there with everybody else, but measurables mean shit. So
here's what I like about him, though, Saul, and this does mean shit, what I'm about to say. 6.5 sacks last year, 70 tackles, though. Yes. Defensive ends that get 70 tackles, that shows me that you are a highly active player. You're not just some kind of specialist. You're not a player that's just kind of creeping around on the side. You're able to make plays, and you're able to get upfield. That's what I'm excited about watching him. 70 tackles means a lot for me. Also a Mesa kid. I think it's a pretty cool story. Red Mountain, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Yep. So he's a good one. I'm going to stay on the D-line, though. I'm going to go Kevon Darton out of Syracuse.
Yes.
Now, this is somebody that I really think we're shortchanging because he's already proven at the ACC level. Look at his stats. Look at his stats last year. 42 tackles, 8 for tackles for loss, 5 sacks from an interior D lineman. And Dwayne Aquina has made it clear that he wants his defensive linemen to not necessarily hold gaps as much as he wants them to be able to get into the backfield. I'm very excited to see what he can do, Saul Bookman.
Yeah, but if you break down those stats and you find out like where he got his sacks and you go and you see where he got his tackles for loss, that's where the concern kind of comes in a little bit, right? He did a lot of his damage against the lower level competition that Syracuse played, and his measurables are not there. Obviously, he's below 6 feet tall. I think he's close to 300 pounds, so he's a little bit of a lighter weight defensive lineman,
right?
And so again, it doesn't matter if you can produce.
Right.
And I am, again, interested to see what he's going to be able to do when he gets in there, because on paper, the measurables, again, doesn't mean anything. He doesn't have the height. So if he gets stuck at the line, he's not going to be able to really jump up and deflect a pass. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because, I don't know why I keep thinking people under 6 feet are just going to be, they're going to be like this tall. I don't know why I'm doing that. 5'11's fine. 5'11's fine. I'm sorry.
I am more than okay with that. I like Kevon Darton. I'm going to go with Kevon Darton.
I go Chuba May. Again.
Chuba is Chuba's the biggest football player Chuba's the biggest football player I've ever seen here.
Chuba is a mountain of a human being. Like, I don't know how they're going to move him on the defensive line. But again, coming from San Jose State, that step up in competition, what is this going to look like? How is he going to do? Is he going to be able to hold the line? Because he doesn't strike me as the type of dude that's really going to be able to, let's say, put a ton of pressure on the quarterback due to speed, but he can hold the gaps. He can stop the run easily. Is he going to be able to find his ways to get some more tackles for loss and be a high-level performer? He was at San Jose State. I'm not saying he won't be here, but again, it's a question mark when you step up in competition.
Yeah, it was interesting. His coach at UC Davis last year was talking.
I'm sorry, UC Davis. Yeah, I said San Jose State. I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh, you're good. His coach was talking about it, though, and he made an interesting point about him. He says there's sometimes comes people that are just so big and they carry their weight so well that you tell them to just stay there. And he was followed up on that, and he said, listen, you obviously want him to do stuff. He said, but he is just such a mountain of a man that, you can have that and you can absolutely go with that. Again, he's legitimately 6'4", 360, 350. He's huge.
Think about Vince Wilfork with the Patriots back in the day. He was 6'7", 399 pounds, and nobody could move him on the line.
Right.
But he did such a great job of really occupying gaps that the linebackers were able to roam freely and make plays. And so that's what you want to see here. Also, going back to that comment, no, stop with that bull crap. That's not me saying that I don't think that this team's very good at all. No, there's just question marks. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how these guys develop and how they perform against higher level competition. Listen, anytime you take a step up in competition, it's an adjustment. How fast these guys adjust is going to be dependent on the playing time that they also get afterwards, right? So it's not that I doubt that this team's going to be good whatsoever, but I know from personal experience, even on my small little level of going from high school to community college to a Division II program, there's a step up in competition, and it's not necessarily physically that you have to adjust. It's also mentally and trying to figure out your technique has to be better. When you step up in competition, you can't be sloppy. So when you're at UC Davis and you're playing against other lower level schools, you can get away with some things from time to time that you won't be able to get away with in the Big 12. That's what we're talking about. And the faster that a player can adjust, the quicker he's going to be more effective. And that's where we're going. But they have great competition in camp right now. And that's what you're hoping is going to get some of those bad habits out of the way, some of those sloppy techniques out of the way, so they can develop and move forward and actually contribute at a high level.
That's something that Jed Fish did a really, really good job at, was either finding guys at lower level places that could come in and contribute. Obviously, Jacob Cowing is, but he was awesome. Everybody knew he was going to be awesome. But that you look at a Tanner McLaughlin, at Southern Utah, who came in here and became an NFL player. And you look at players that didn't really play a ton, didn't have a lot of expectations. Your Taylor Upshaws, your Hunter Eccles. He did a very good job of finding those players that could come in here. And I think it's going to be up to Brent Brennan to kind of continue that. That's where I think it's going to be fascinating. Now, with the secondary. We were arguing about this yesterday. I believe the secondary is going to be one of the top 10 in the country, and I believe it has top 5 potential to it. Listen, Traden Stukes, Dwayne Aquino has mentioned many times he believes he's the best nickelback in the country. He does not want to move him. Then on the other boundary, you already got Takario Davis. Talked about him. You got the three safeties. You get one more corner that can really step in there and be that. I think you round it out and you got 6-7 DBs that you can do a lot of different stuff with. I'm hoping that that's Marquise Groves Killebrew.
It could be Marquise Groves Killebrew. I think somebody else in the secondary that you might want to keep an eye on, because again, he didn't really play too much at Miami, but Demetrius Freeney, what's he going to bring? Is he going to bring that, that kind of toughness? Listen, you can't be a slouch when you go play at the U. I don't care how bad they are. It's still a program that's notable and they have a history that's unbelievable. So, but he didn't get a lot of run over there. I think he played in 3 games, mostly special teams guy. So is he going to be able to contribute? He's a kind of a sleeper. He's probably the sleepiest sleeper of all the sleepers on this list.
He's a very, very heavy-eyed player at this point. Very sleepy. Heavy eyelids, Saul Bookman. That's what my mom used to always say when I was getting tired. You have very heavy eyelids.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yes.
So I that's the guy that I want to keep an eye on and see, is he going to surprise people? Because he would surprise people. A lot of people aren't thinking about what he can contribute at the U of A. So,
All right. So what can you tell me about Sanderson Ford?
Sanderson Ford is fantastic. We went out there, when we were talking to them, and their facility is second to none. Their service is amazing. It just didn't feel like when I walked in, like, for instance, a couple weeks ago, my wife was like, "Hey, I want to go test drive the E Mustang," right? So we went to a different Ford dealership over here on the east side, and they won't stop blowing up her. I swear they have called her 24 times in the last 3 weeks. Like, bro, stop calling us. We're not interested, right? You won't get that at Sanderson Ford. They have class.
They have class, and honestly, the reputation speaks for itself. I mean, it really is. It is about as good a car dealership as you're going to find in Arizona. I have, you're not going to find any kind of better deals. Here's the deal, though. You can get 0%, Saul, for 36 months OAC from Ford Credit. See dealer for details. And again, the Sanderson Ford Summer event is here, and they are teaming up with the Boys of Summer for a final payoff sale. You might say, Mike, what does that mean? Well, thanks for asking. Purchase or lease any new Ford and get Ford tickets for your family to see the D-backs push for the playoffs. Heck, you might run into Jacob Franklin there as well. So who knows? Check it out. And let's just say that you're looking at this and you're like, man, you know what? I could use a little bit of extra money looking for a car. Desert Financial Credit Union says, come this way, my friends. We are in the business to do business with you. Saul Bookman, you see Desert Financial everywhere. And the cool thing about it, desertfinancial.com, you can get the $200. Who does not want a $200, Saul Bookman? I would very much like $200, as would you, I'm sure.
I'm sure, because not only does that, maybe it helps out with one of your car payments, or maybe it just gets you a bunch of snacks over at Circle K. Either way, you're good to go.
You're going to be good to go with the Desert Financial Credit Union. I think the cool thing about it, too, is it's for the people, by the people. Everybody likes Desert Financial Credit Union, and they are with PHNX. That is obviously a very good thing. So here's the deal. When you open a free checking account online, get $200 in bonuses, and get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with its members, just like the great Saul Bookman. Check it out, Desert Financial Credit Union. Okay. Now, we are not all peaches and creams or fruits and creams on there. How about that for an old school reference? But, so obviously, this Arizona football team, I both believe that we have top 10 to top 15 potential and top, college football playoffs. But we're also going to put, and this is a pushback on Cody Martin, we're also not just going to sit here and say that everything's great. We do have question marks. There are concerns about this team. This isn't 2001 Miami. This is a very good team. It's not that team. So, Saul, your first question, what are some of your concerns about this team being able to reach the apex that we both believe is the college football playoffs and beyond?
One of my biggest concerns is a defensive line, and I just alluded to that a little bit ago. Defensive line, and really the front seven. How effective can they be? This is now another year under Dwayne Aquino, kind of being part of that program on the defensive side and helping out. And I think Jacob Manu is the best one on the team, in my opinion, in terms of maximizing his skill set for the measurables that he has. I think he's a tremendous player. But who else is going to help him out? Who else is going to be? Who's going to step up? Who's going to develop? Who developed over the course of the offseason in order to contribute at a high level? I think the secondary is not so much a concern of mine. I think they have depth. I think they have coverage ability. I think they have a little bit of a heat-seeking missile attitude. They like to hit guys back there, especially my guy Traden, as you pointed out. So I'm okay in the secondary. It's the front seven that I think is the biggest question mark, because there are going to be a lot of tests this year in the Big 12.
My biggest question on defense right now is that linebacker next to Manu. And I think that's the big, honestly, Saul, I think this coaching staff did a very good job of filling and plugging holes. I think that they certainly have shown that they know how to navigate the portal. They weren't really able to address the linebacker spot, which I think if push comes to shove, and we've talked about this before, you're going to see a lot of Genesis Smith in the box. You're going to see a lot of a dollar package. And honestly, Saul, I'm very much of the belief that you try to get your best football players out there. And if Genesis Smith is in the box a lot more, it's not like you're putting Mike Luke in the box. This is a guy who's 6'3", 215, 220 pounds. Most people believe he's got an NFL future at some point. I think Dwayne Aquina, one of his things that he's maintained all throughout camp, and I can't wait to see him and interview him, is that I got to get the best players on the field. He said, period. He said, this isn't something where if my fourth best player is also my fourth best safety, it's still on me to be able to get him on the field in a full-time role. I love coaches that think like that. I love coaches that know that, because at the end of the day, it's a lot more about having a player that is an impactful player being able to round those things up. Aquina gets it. I think you're going to see a lot of Genesis Smith, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I like that. I could also see Gunner from time to time blitz in the box as well. I just think that he's going to be a little bit creative in terms of his scheme and blitz packages and stuff like that. And so I just don't know what to expect from that front seven. That's the biggest thing. And like you said, when you're talking about the linebackers, who else is going to be out there? We touched on Justin Flo from before. Yeah, I have no idea what to expect from Justin Flo. I don't know if he's improved, if he's gotten better. I'm sure physically he has, because he's a maniac in the gym. But again, that doesn't mean anything on the field. Are you going to be able to produce at a high level? And so you got to look at guys like that. They've had some other transfers that have come in to try and help shore up some of those weaknesses. Hell, we just mentioned Trey Smith. Trey Smith is, again, he's 255. He's 6'4", I believe. I could see him, coming off the edge one time, and then the next time kind of dropping back in zone to help out. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And you got to be creative. If you don't have all the pieces in certain positions, you got to get creative with your scheme to try and get, backups in a different way.
Right.
And that's what other teams have done. Like if you think of like the Cardinals and Deion Buchanan back in the day, they had an okay linebacking core. Deion Buchanan would come down from the safety position and play that kind of hybrid safety linebacker. I think they called it a dime at the time or something like that, or dollar. It was called the dollar position. And guess what? Paul McGlure ended up doing that the very next year at U of A. Right. Like that's the kind of hybrid, and I could see Genesis Smith being that kind of guy.
Being a Roy Williams, Sean Taylor type, if you wanted to go back 15, 20 years.
Yeah, but I didn't want to go legendary status, though.
All right, I was going to say, all right, so you're not prepared to put Genesis Smith in with Roy Williams or Sean Taylor yet? Is that what you're saying?
Two of the greatest safeties of all time?
Yes,
I'll wait.
All right, Wilbur
Big
Burner.
Potential to be, though.
Now, for sure, Wilbur Big Burner, Mike Luke at linebacker. Now, I might have the instincts. I just don't know that I would necessarily have the strength. I think that might be a little bit of a drawback, but I don't know. Let's not limit myself.
R.I.P. Mike Luke.
R.I.P. Mike Luke. Okay, Saul. Offense. I have one question, and that's it. I just need to know who that other offensive lineman is. I love all the other O linemen. One guy, I wanted to throw this off you, and the great Ollie Farhang made this point on Friday on the show, and I thought it was an interesting point. Ollie says, if you can't figure out the left tackle, I'm kind of at the point where I agree with him. Why not put Big Jonah there? He's your best offensive lineman. A left tackle is more important than right tackle when you've got a right-handed quarterback. If you can't figure that out, I don't know why you wouldn't put Big Jonah there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see a little bit of that in camp. I think they're going to. I'm positive they're going to try and at least experiment with it and see how comfortable he feels and looks over there. Right. So it does make sense. Also, listen, if you're talking to Jonah, you're like, hey, listen, let's think about next year. Where do you make more money, right tackle or left tackle?
Right, exactly. And what's also cool about Jonah, and you're seeing this with Jordan, I don't know if you saw this with Jordan Morgan. You saw that Jordan Morgan, the Packers drafted him, obviously played tackle. They moved him into guard, and they said that he's going to be a guard for the foreseeable future. Getting linemen that have that kind of flexibility, I think, is just something that is just you can't really even put a price tag on it. If I can project you out as possibly being an all-pro guard or an all-pro tackle, yes, you're going to fly up the draft charts. This was put out yesterday, and, it's just for people with I get questions every day about Polito. Polito not currently with the team. Again, really good player, certainly far from done. But, when people say, well, why aren't you mentioning Polito? That's just the way it is. Again, good kid. So just, some other stuff going on. With the other three linemen, totally good. Wendell Moy, I believe, is an NFL player. Leif Magnuson, shout out Quinn Magnuson, listens to every single show. And Josh Baker. I'm cool with it, Saul. The one thing about it, Noah is the franchise here. Noah is the dude. He's a tough guy, but everybody's got a limited amount of times. I can't have that Oklahoma game happen again, basically, where they're just in the backfield the whole time. Granted, they were able to figure it out in the second half, but you got to be able to figure out that fifth offensive line position.
Yeah, I agree. Because if something were to happen to Noah, then guess what? I don't care what the offensive line looks like. Problem number one is, what are we going to get at the backup quarterback position? I think I'm not going to go there because I want to stay optimistic on that at least. I would agree that the offensive line is the number one priority in terms of trying to figure out who that fifth star is going to be, because continuity is everything, and that as over the years of watching football, if an offensive line has continuity, they're usually pretty good.
Right. And I'm with you. I don't worry about the skill guys. Between the running backs, between the receivers, there's more than enough talent here, which leads me to my next question, Saul Bookman. College football playoffs, national title contender. I don't see why Arizona can't be, if things break right. I don't understand why they can't play with the absolute best of the big boys. I do not see that.
Yeah. I was looking at the top 25, and I think, you're always going to have, you're going to look at Georgia, you're going to look at Ohio State. Those are going to be the top two teams in the country, just because they always are.
Right.
And then after that, you have Alabamas and Oregons and stuff like that. I think if you're talking about like the top 5 teams in the country, can they match up with them? I think they can hold their own. Right. I don't know what level that would look like, though, because those teams the thing about those teams is their depth is just so ridiculously tremendous that they can overcome adversity easily than most teams, right? So if you're Arizona and you one of your players that you rely on go down, how do you recover from that? Do you have that backup that's going to be able to step in and at least somewhat produce similar results? Well, when you're talking about the Georgias and the Bamas of the world, they can. They replace an NFL receiver with another NFL receiver, basically, is just what it is. So that, in that respect, do I think that they could be in the college football playoff? 1,000,000%. Do I think that they can compete for a national championship? I would say things would have to go a little bit. They would have to go right in order to be able to get that.
They would definitely need to go. They would definitely need to go right. How about that?
But the fact that we're literally speaking of that concept in the day of our Lord 2024,
it's exciting.
It's just unbelievable.
But here's where I'm at, Saul, with this. And again, maybe I'm going overboard. I do not care. Direct your complaints to Saul Bookman, not to me. Here's where I'm at. Noah Fifita, quarterback, could play for any team in the country. Duh. No, T-Mac plays for any team in the country. Duh. Jonah Savaiinaea plays for any team in the country. Wendell Moy graded out as one of those guys as well. Then you look on the defensive side. You got Jacob Manu. You've got Takario Davis. You've got all of the safeties. You've got a lot. Jonah Savaiinaea, I already mentioned him. You got like 8 or 9 guys. Granted, it's not 22. I get it. That would play for about anybody. That's where I'm excited about it, Saul. I'm used to the days of where we have nobody that could play for anybody, or if they could, there's like one guy, and it's like, well, maybe he could be the third wide receiver. That to me is where we're a little bit different, Saul. I like it.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think when you're looking at those programs, the best thing the thing you gotta ask yourself is how is this all going to shake out? And if Arizona makes the college football playoff, and let's just say they, because I didn't realize this. I didn't realize, in order to get one of those 4 byes, you have to be a conference champion, I believe, and you don't get a home game.
Right.
If you're one of those 4 byes, you play at the neutral site, which is usually, it will be like the Fiesta Bowl or whatever. And so I didn't realize that. And so when you're talking about one of the other 8 teams, you want to be one of those top 8 teams or you want to be in the top 4 of those 8 teams. So you get to host a game. Arizona playing at home against a team, let's just say Bama.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they would have a chance. I mean, Tucson would be on fire.
But here's the thing, too, with the SEC. And the SEC is awesome. I'm going to make fun of the Big Ten here in a minute. But with the SEC, how many times, though, do you see a game with Alabama where they barely beat, like, a Mississippi State? Or they barely beat some team that's just really not that good, or they're like, or not even Alabama, but they're really, really good teams. It can happen. These teams aren't super teams. Arizona needs things to go right, but this also isn't like playing the Warriors in 2017, where you're like, all right, well, hopefully we can keep this game within 800 points.
Yeah, I don't think the dominance in college football will be nearly as vast as it used to be. Not with the NIL and the transfer portal.
I agree with you, Saul Bookman. All right, now, FOCO. Here's the deal. FOCO. You might say, Mike Luke, remember that really cool A in the back? That was from FOCO. These folks know exactly what they are doing. Use code PHNX for 10% off. FOCO always has our back for Arizona sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by visiting www.foco.com and use code PHNX for all non-presale items. Use the promo code PHNX10 for 10% off. FOCO, Saul Bookman. And you're a very hip person, Saul Bookman.
Yeah, you can't get that sign at FOCO, unfortunately. That is through Saturday Neon.
Oh, Saturday Neon. I do apologize.
That's okay. It's all good. It's all good. But they do have other U of A, bobbleheads and things of that nature. So check them out. FOCO's fantastic. We have a couple FOCO items back here somewhere.
Yep.
So yeah, FOCO.
All right, awesome. Now FOCO, it's also a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. And one other thing. You're probably looking at Saul Bookman and you're like, man, that guy's cool. Well, get in line. But
I don't think anybody's ever said that a day in my life.
Many people are saying that. But you got to think to yourself, you look at that cool guy, you're also thinking Shady Rays. Those things go hand in hand. When you think coolness, you think Saul Bookman, you think Shady Rays, and you think Saul Bookman wearing Shady Rays. These things are absolutely fantastic. Saul, you have a pair. This is true.
I do, and they're polarized. They're great. They also have a new collection. The name's escaping me, but it's for golfers, and so it's a half polarization, so you can still see the ball at great lengths, and it'll make it easier to identify the ball on the course, because how many times have we all golfed and you can't find your ball, you're looking around and you think a little piece of shrubbery is your ball, and you drive over there with the cart and it's not it. Well, these glasses will definitely help with that. It'll be easier to keep the sun out of your eyes, but also see the ball from great distances, which is fantastic. Shady Rays, promo code PHNX, you can save yourself up to
35%, my friend.
There you go.
Check it out. Try for yourself. The Shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. I can guarantee you that Saul Bookman is in that. All right, now, where's this? Rick Barents, the great Rick Barents says, where's the Circle? No Circle K today, my friends. But I went to, did you hear about what happened with me yesterday in Circle K?
Yeah, you went to a Circle K that you thought was there, and it was not there.
It's no longer there. I got catfished. Not good. Not good. I got catfished. So again, I tried. My heart was in the right place. All right. Now, here's something that the people in the Big Ten are putting out, and it is bothering me a great deal because I'm going at it from a Big 12 loyalty aspect. People in the Big Ten want 4 buys. No.
4 buys.
4 buys for the college football playoffs. Matt Rule put this out there. I think Jed Fish put this out there as well. No. Here's the deal with the Big Ten. The SEC... Get the kudos you deserve. You won all. The Big Ten has won 3 undisputed national championships in the last 45 years. You do not, and in this past year,
I'm confused by 4 buys.
They want, well, because you get buy or 4 automatic bids. Excuse me, I apologize.
There you go. Okay, I was like, wait, there is 4 buys. What are you talking about? Okay,
yes, I do apologize. 4 automatic bids. No.
Hell no.
I don't go with any of that. And here's why.
That's a third of the fucking 12. What are you talking about?
Exactly. And here's the other thing that bothers me a great deal. Guess who was in the Big Ten or championship game last year? Iowa. Iowa doesn't even try to score. Iowa literally does not try to score the football. And again, this conference, I know you're adding teams. You've got 3 undisputed national championships in the last 45 years. You don't get any of that. No. And here's the other thing. Let's be honest here. Outside of Ohio State and Michigan, there's a lot of in that conference. There's a lot of Marylands, there's a lot of Rutgers, there's a lot of Indiana's, Michigan State's. I can keep going on and on and on. You get the point. No. We will push back against that until the end of time.
Could you imagine if they get 4 and then the SEC gets 4? Because the SEC would have to get 4.
Sure.
If you're going to give the crappy Big Ten 4, you have to give the SEC 4. That leaves 4 spots for everybody else. So then you got to give the other 2 conference champions of the Power 5 a bid. So that's only 2 at-large bids. Get the fuck out of here, Big Ten, you stupid asses.
Not doing it. And on top of that, too, here's the other thing, is that they're like, oh, well, we're adding teams. Cool. That's awesome that you're adding teams. I get all of that. You don't get 4. Sorry.
Nobody asked you to.
Yeah, nobody asked you to. You don't get 4. And, let's be honest. Oregon's obviously really good. Washington's not probably going to be very good this year. UCLA and USC, who really knows what to generally expect from year to year with USC? They can be really good. They can be really bad. I say no. And the other thing about it, too, is that you've got a lot of bad football teams in the Big Ten. You get a lot of buys. And, again, I'm going to go back to this again. When Iowa is in your conference championship game last year, that is a disqualifier for 4. I say no. No,
you get 1. You get 1 like everybody else.
Yes.
And then we'll give you an at-large bid or 2. And maybe some years they will get 4. Maybe they will get 3 at-large bids. But That means that the whole conference had to be just crazy good. You don't just get it because you added teams. You know what? We can go down the street and we can add a bunch of teams too. We can add San Jose State. We can add Boise State. We can add San Diego State. Does that mean we get more bids too?
Right.
No, it doesn't at all. Shut up, Big Ten. You and your stupid policies.
Yeah, Oregon, an 8-4 or 9-3 Oregon team should not get an automatic bid.
No
Sorry, that is not the way that we are going about this. This
is supposed to be a college football playoff. That means the elite of the elite are in this. I don't want to see some middling Iowa team who scores 3.2 points a game in a damn college football playoff. Nobody wants to see that. There's one guy in the world that I know wants to see it because he hates life, and his name is Spencer Smith, and he works at DNVR, and he's an Iowa guy. He must hate life watching Iowa football every single week. It's ridiculous.
Bad. You know, the thing about Iowa too that's always funny is that Iowa, they would always talk about, man, you just got to really respect their program. No, I don't need to respect their program because they have good defense and they don't care about it.
What have they done in my lifetime? 44 years, Iowa hasn't done shit.
They haven't done anything. We will not stand for this. Not happening. Sorry, not happening. Okay. Now,
the Iowa slander is real today.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sorry, but again, when I saw that report, I had to push back here from my
There's like a list of like horrible things I'd rather do to myself than watch Iowa play football.
Oh, it's terrible. No, literally, when you have teams that try not to score, or they're like at the 7-yard line, they're like, okay, we can't risk a pass here. We gotta run it 3 times and just hope we don't fumble. No.
I'd rather get stuck low crawling through a hole in a cave than watch Iowa play football.
Oh, That's awful.
How awful it is. And I'm claustrophobic. I do not like tight spaces.
This makes my eyes bleed even thinking about watching that. That's where we're at now. Okay, now I also want to give a shout out. We gave him a shout out yesterday. I want to give him one more shout out to the great TJ Benson. TJ Benson up in did a lot of work up in your guys' neck of the woods up in Phoenix as well. Casey Benson's brother, obviously, from Corona del Sol. TJ was promoted to the full-time assistant coaching job. TJ, I've got to know he is a great dude. This is where I'm at with college basketball, Saul. I like guys that work really hard behind the scenes that you see everywhere. He and Jack Murphy are a perfect pair for each other. I love watching those two guys go around. He's put in the time. He's put in the effort. He's obviously got really good recruiting connections at Dream City. I love the hire, and I love seeing guys who work their butt off get rewarded. That is TJ Benson.
Yeah, I mean, went to GCU too, recruited at GCU. Got 2 of their more high-profile athletes that they've had at GCU. Then he went over to Gonzaga, obviously, and worked. And I think he was part of that Timmy era. Suggs, Jalen Suggs and stuff like that. So obviously he's had his chops built for this. And so to get this opportunity is tremendous. And, listen, Tommy Lloyd doesn't just put anybody on that bench that can recruit. He tries to find some legit guys, and this is just another one of them.
It's very good. He like I said, he's got that Jack Murphy work ethic. We like that. 5 of a Kind Media says, "Hey Mike, who is replacing TJ Benson's spot?" Yeah, to be determined. That'll be interesting. I would imagine that'll play out over the coming months. When we know more, we'll certainly let you guys know. All right, now Saul Bookman. There is no better time to become a PHNX diehard. This is true.
There is no better time. You should become a diehard. We've talked about this at length. The more diehards we get in the group, the better our events become, and the more events we do. So become a diehard. Also, I have a little, there's a little speculation that we're going to change our diehard system to a tiered system. So there'll be like 3 different tiers. So those of you who are out of state and can't come to events, you still get things at a discounted price, and you can still get some things that are behind the paywall. So Anthony Gimino, who is returning to write for us and should be dropping. So I think he dropped a story this week. You'll be able to read some of his content, and some of that content is going to be pretty exclusive, and you're going to need to, dole out some shekels to be able to read it.
Check it out. Check it out. Now, Saul Bookman, what do you guys have going on? You got Suns at 3, correct?
Suns is going at 3, and I just have a bunch of meetings today. So
all right, doing GM stuff. Also, check that out. And also, Erica L. Day, she's got her Mercury thing going on at 6 o'clock. I will be in there as well. So, but on that note, very good stuff.
I'd rather take a hot poker and stab it into my foot than watch Iowa football.
Yes, no, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And
I'd rather stub my toe every time I took a step than watch Iowa football.
And that's the other thing. Somebody else in here, I think Kip Bennett, the great Kip Bennett, said Maryland finished 4th last year. No. So let's just off the top of our heads real quick, just come up with bad football teams in the Big Ten that haven't mattered in 10 years.
Indiana,
Iowa, Nebraska, Rutgers,
Nebraska, Maryland.
Did we say Northwestern? We already said Northwestern, right?
No, we haven't said Northwestern, but Northwestern has a little bit of flashes here and there.
Yeah, but still,
every now and then.
Darnell Autry isn't coming through those doors. How about Michigan State,
Illinois?
I mean, we can just keep going. Purdue, Andy Bryant, Minnesota.
Oh my God, yes. Yep.
We just literally named 8 teams that seriously don't matter, that are total bye weeks for good teams. I mean, no offense to any of our friends in those that are fans of them.
I turn on ESPN on a Saturday morning and they open with, welcome to, Rutgers as Minnesota's in town. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, right. Oh, and then they try to hype it up too. And they're like, yeah, it's packed to stadium capacity right now. The mascots are dueling in the backfield or something. No, I'm not watching any of that. So, UCLA now as well, Andy Bryan. Very good. Okay.
True.
All right. Now, Saul Bookman, we will let you go do your meetings. Everybody else, you guys are fantastic. I rely on you. Also, need to give a big shout out to the great Emma Clark. Emma Clark, one of the best producers in the entire company. I knew very early on, I'm going to take some credit on this, even though I did nothing to further this, that Emma Clark is fantastic. She's young with a very wise old soul. Very much appreciate all of Emma's work.
She's definitely a 90-year-old woman in a 20-year-old's body, for sure.
No, she's fantastic. Every single time, I kid you not, Saul, every single time she's done a show, she's always early. She's always punctual. Anything I need, even if I spaz out before the show and I'm like, hey, can you put this in there? Sure, Mike.
There's a lot of wisdom behind those nice, shiny brown hairs.
Yes, no, she is. She's fantastic. But, Saul, you got a crack staff, though. A lot of really good producers. But that's also a testament to the boss, the GM, Saul Bookman.
Not a lot of wisdom behind these gray ones. So.
Oh, there's a lot of wisdom behind those gray. That's why they're gray.
Yeah, it's stress because of people like Emma Clark. Just kidding, Emma. We love you.
Yes, we love Emma Clark. All right, for the boss, Saul Bookman, for the great Emma Clark behind the scenes, appreciate all of you. I am merely Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow. Oh, by the way, house cleaning, we're going to start going at 2 o'clock with camp starting 2 o'clock. We will be putting out a note about that. But for all of you, you guys are fantastic. Very much appreciate all of you. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.